Keats posted a thread on Twitter discussing fighting game reactions, and I think this is very important for lots of new players to read probably, because this is one conception I hear about fighting games a lot. When people talk about fighting games, they say, I can't learn fighting games because my reactions are bad. Or they say, I can play Street Fighter, but I can't play Marvel because my reactions are bad. Or I can't play fast-paced versus games. I can't play Guilty Gear. My reactions are no good. The thing is about fighting games that most of the time the reactions actually aren't that important. I think in most games you use your reactions in kind of the same way. In fighting games, the first step is figuring out what you're looking for, identifying it, and dealing with it. That's what you have to do. It's not just about raw reaction time. It's knowing what you're looking for against each character in each range and stuff like that. It's more about learning those specific things than it is about raw reaction time. And he said, just had a nice conversation with a coworker about fighting games. I wanted to share it. He mentioned that he can't get into BlazBlue because he can't react fast enough for the game. This is very common. I hear this as much as I hear Captain dropping the tier 1 sub. Thanks very much. I almost got baited. I looked on over, I was auto segueing, and I almost hit the first part of that. See, Captain, thanks very much. So, he can't react fast enough for BlazBlue. He said, I said that pretty much all fighting games are designed around the same human reaction time limits. The issue isn't the ability to react, it's his ability to prioritize what's important. Basically, we can all keep roughly the same amount of things in focus at any given time. We call this the mental stack. You know, when commentators say watching the air and watching the ground at the same time is very tough. It's very hard to react to a dash and anti-air jump at the same time. There's only so many things your brain can look for and try to identify at once. Focusing on whiff punishing something on the ground, super heavy. You probably won't be able to anti-air jump, right? It's mental stack. It's not that my mental stack can fit more than my friends. It's that the experience level allows me to better prioritize my mental stack. It's not that I can react faster than him. It's that thanks again to my experience level, I have a better understanding of what I should be looking for and how to act in a huge variety of dangerous fighting game situations. He doesn't have this. Right, this is something you have to build as a fighting game fan. When I'm learning a new game, you constantly hear me say, okay, at this range, I can't do that. Oh, at this range, I gotta watch for that overhead. I gotta watch for this. There's always like stuff like that you have to think about. It's important to understand that there's actually no difference in his and my ability to react or keep a prioritized mental stack. The only difference is experience. And he goes on to discuss this a little bit more. He says, it's hard, but I think it's important to make sure new or less experienced fighting game players and fans understand this. We can all react to the same things in the same time frame. We can all balance the same amount in our stack. So why are some games harder? The difference here is the depth of the decision space and the number of important decisions you have to make quickly. I think it's fair to say that the decision space and number of important decisions per minute is far lower in, say, Sam Show than in BlazBlue. This is also a reason that KI, I think, is a very mentally draining game, because KI is a game where when your opponent hits you, you don't stop making decisions. It's in fact one of the highest decision per minute games, because while you're getting hit, you have to decide if you're going to break their combo. You have to try to recognize what parts of their combo you're going to break. You have to just try to decide if counter breaking is worth it or not. You have to decide if they're going to reset you, if you're going to, what your punish is going to be when they counter break and you're ready for it, etc. Right? These are all things that you have to consider. Thinking about a game like Sam Show, where the amount of options that can be thrown around about you like quickly that you have to handle versus BlazBlue. The speed of those two games makes the decision trees wider and harder to deal with all the different things that are coming at you. So the way your mental stack, the amount of things you can deal with, you have to change up what you're focusing on in each game, right? This doesn't make Sam Show a bad game, and it doesn't make BlazBlue too complicated. It just means we have a variety for different audiences. And if you enjoy one of those games with enough experience, other games in the genre do become easier to pick up. Making correct decisions consistently is the hard part of fighting games. Once you get past basic execution. Yeah. The more of these you have to make per minute or second, the more difficult the game is to optimize. This can make the mountain seem too steep to climb. And if you find yourself feeling that the mountain is too steep, perhaps trying a game with a more shallow decision space could help you overcome with some experience and time. It won't work for everyone, but I just wanted to say that we're all the same and we can all do it. This is a great thread about this, right? Because things that are simplified, it doesn't just mean stuff like the execution of this game is more simple. Like, when you're playing the new Guilty Gear, all the old Guilty Gear heads will tell you that this Guilty Gear is not even that hard. All the old Guilty Gears are way harder. But if you compare like the decision space and the mental stack, like compared to, like he said, Sam Show or something, there's a much crazier amount of things that you're looking for flying all over the screen. And so if you don't understand what you should actually be looking for and trying to react to and deal with, you think, I got to react to everything. And I think this thread is very important because so often I hear people say, I can't play X or Y fighting games because my reactions are bad, or I can't, learn a fighting game because I can't react to whatever. And the thing is that most players are not reacting to all these different situations. They're not blocking all these overheads on reaction. They're not doing all this crazy stuff. Really, they're just like good at knowing in this range, I can't get hit by a low, so I'll just block overhead. It's just experience in that moment. Okay, well, I'm in a perfect range to anti-air, and if they dash at me, it's okay because even if I can't check the dash, they're not in range to mix me up. They'll dash, and then their dash is outside of a range where I have to really worry about anything. Or their mental stack is, okay, I'm just looking for the dash. As soon as he dashes, I'm going to jab it. As soon as he dashes, I'm going to jab it. And then they just jab it as soon as you dash up. You're like, wow, this guy's reaction times are incredible. How does he always see the dash, you know? How'd you block that? It's the one thing I've been trying to block this whole set. Yeah, that happens a lot too, right? Yeah, this is a good way to think about it. This is cool. This is kind of like the learning process for fighting games. Reducing the size of your mental stack. This is definitely similar to the process I go through when I'm learning games. Notice your opponent is jumping. Decide to use an anti-air. Which move might work out of 30? Keep rotating these moves. Remember input for the move, try to do the move and get kicked in the face. Next time they jump. Notice opponent is jumping, decides to use an anti-air attack. Which move might work out of 6, right? You went from 30 moves to 6 moves. Remember input for move faster. You're like, okay, next time I gotta input it faster. Try to do move and maybe succeed. Then the next time is, notice opponent is jumping. Decide to use an anti-air attack. Oh, hey, my crouching heavy works. Try to do the move and usually succeed. Then at the end, it's notice opponent is jumping. Crouching heavy punch. This is how it goes, right? An experienced player doesn't have to think, oh, he jumped. What the fuck was my anti-air again? An experienced player says in the air, anti-air. That's just it. There's not a lot of, your brain doesn't have to work hard. It just happens. You're used to it. You've seen the jump before. You're like, oh yeah, jump. Got him. Got him. Got him. Got him. Got him. In the air, anti-air. In the air, anti-air. You just know to do it. Your brain just does it. You don't have to think. For a new player, that moment is, they're in the air. What the fuck was my anti-air again? How many attacks do I have? And then it's too late. And that's one thing when you hear me discussing what I'm doing, it really is a mental stack situation when I'm learning new games. Okay, at this range, I can't do that. Good to know. At this range, I can't do that. So I'm eliminating things that I have to worry about or things that I have to think about. That's just how it works. It's like every game. You've seen me learn a lot of different fighting games on my stream. And people always say stuff like, Sajam, you pick up a game so fast. When I pick up a game, it takes me a lot longer. It's just that you're good at fighting games, so you can just pick them up. The process that I have to use fighting games to learn fighting games is the same every time. And really, it's just a process of try, fail, and repeat. Does this anti-air work? No, it doesn't work. This character has air options that beat that. Can I jump in air to air them? Try that. Does that work? Yeah, sometimes it seems okay. Can I move away from it on the ground? It's just me constantly trying different things from learning different games, you know? The reason that creating, fighting game discourse on learning new games is so important is because even if you're not a new player, teaching people how to learn new games is important because when an intermediate level player goes to a new game, they are a new player and they have to learn all these new skills and stuff. So you have to start from scratch a little bit. And every time you learn a new game, you have more and more experience. So the very first time you learn a fighting game, you're like here. And then the next time when you're learning a new fighting game, you have a little bit of knowledge. You're a little bit higher. You're like right here. And then the next time you learn a new fighting game. And the next time you learn a new fighting game. And the next time you learn a new fighting game. Because you know what to expect. You know what to look for. You know the skills you need to learn. When I go into a game, I always know what I'm looking for. What are the basic system mechanics? How does the meter work? Okay, I'm on the screen. How do I move? How do I anti-air? How do I hit them on the ground? When I'm on the ground, how do I reach them with an attack? Okay, what's safe and far? When they jump in the air, how do I anti-air them and stop them from jumping? Perfect. I got 2 things down. I'll start adding on from there. That's all there is to it. Spoiler, Moste says, all of this applies to all learning. Of course, it doesn't matter what you're interested in. It doesn't matter if it's commentary, riding a bike, learning how to code, learning how to play pool, learning how to, do some kind of sport. You want to learn how to be a basketball player. You want to learn how to anything you're interested in. Yo-yo, juggle. Any skill, it's always the same kind of thing. Fail, 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 success. Fail, 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 success. Fail, 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 success. And then you just keep learning and improving. And when you hit a moment where you don't know how to continue to improve, that's where frustrations will set in and you have to dig your heels in and figure it out. I love teaching and I love learning. And those 2 things are hand in hand, right? Because, you have to learn something to then teach it. And then the more you teach it, the better you learn it. So you'll be more and more familiar with your stuff.